Hi, everyone. This is Heather Hodges. I'm an organizational psychologist. Welcome to my show. This is the place where we say I'm in to creativity, bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. Today's guest is the one and only Tom Maxwell. And if you're in the home care space, you know that name. And in just a moment, you're going to know his infectious smile and bright personality too. Tom is a visionary, a builder, and someone who brings heart and hustle to everything he does. He and his wife, Jennifer, co-founded Maxwell TEC, a company that's reshaping how technology supports home care. Tom has a deep passion for helping leaders and organizations grow with agility, empathy, and ingenuity. He's a big thinker with a big heart. Tom, welcome to the show.
Hey, Heather. Thank you so much for having me on. It's super exciting. Really exciting to see all your success with this podcast, too. I know lots of people are listening to it and talking about it. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you bet. Well, thank you for saying I'm in and joining the podcast today. I have been looking forward to this conversation for weeks now. After we set this up, before you went off on vacation, I went off on vacation, and now here we are back in town, ready to rock and roll. And so I'm curious, Tom, just catch us up. What's going on in your world right now with Maxwell TEC?
Yeah, so as everybody knows, I'm pretty busy, always thinking, always trying to do it. Maxwell Healthcare Associates rebranded this year to Maxwell TEC, and we did it on purpose because we're really starting to build a lot of technology, and we wanted to have all of our focus and time and energy around the technology side of it, but continuing with the consulting side of the business. So, the Nana Connect product is the new product that we did. And by the way, let me tell you the story about Nana real quick. That's Nana. And it was on service with Encompass Home Health back when April was leading Encompass. And the chaplain recognized that she was on her last days. And he called us and said, actually, my dad called and said, hey, pick up the phone, make sure you answer the phone. Nana's on her last days. So she called me. I was on the golf course. I was holding hole number 6. I tell this story all the time. So I remember the exact hole I was on at North Oaks Golf Club in Minnesota, North Oaks, Minnesota. And I pulled over and got to spend 45 minutes and essentially say goodbye to Nana. And the next morning she passed away. Amazing story, right? It was great. It touches my heart. Her pictures in both of my offices, one in Minnesota, one in Scottsdale. It's on every video that I do. She was one of the most amazing women in the world. And the great part of that story was I had such an amazing experience. Thank you, April. Thank you, the chaplain. Thank you, Encompass Home Health, and everybody that was there. That we wanted to create technologies around how do we make sure we communicate more, we engage more. That's where we founded Muse. Muse was all about how do we make sure that everybody has that same experience that I had, to be able to predict when a patient's passing away, so that we can get the family there quicker and faster and better, and get to say goodbye. It's amazing. The Nana Connect products do kind of this similar thing. So they're using text-based platform. We started out building an app. I was going to build an app. The app was going to communicate. Everybody wanted to be able to share medical record information, check in on Nana. And so I started on this path of building an app. And what we found is nobody wanted an app. They hated the app. Don't put an app on my phone. I don't want a username and password to log in. So we said, how can we overcome HIPAA without an app? You really can't. So what we said is, how do we use the tools that we have today that everybody has? It's the only good thing that COVID brought us that I can imagine is everybody has a cell phone now. Everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has an iPhone or an Android. And we can use that as a tool inside the home. And so we built Nana Connect. And so we started out with Notify Nana. Nana's number one complaint in every home health. By the way, Nana is what we call patients. So we never talk about patients anymore. We talk about Nanas because it personalizes it. And I just told you that story. So Nana has a phone, but her number one complaint is, I love my home health agency. I love my aide. I love my nurse. I never know when they're going to be here. And so we really, with Notify Nana, we actually are able to we're able to send a text message that says, hey, you have an appointment tomorrow. And then the nurse is on her way, and then the nurse has arrived. It's no different than Domino's Pizza. It's no different than DoorDash. But there's nobody else in the technology space inside of home health and hospice that's doing this. You go to your doctor, you go to your x-ray, you go to your lab, you go to all those places, the pharmacy. I get hundreds of medication reminders for my dogs from Walgreens, but nobody's done it in home health and hospice, so we built it. The next piece of it was engage. We wanted to really reach out to Nana and say, Nana, how do you feel today? So there's all these remote patient monitoring devices, a scale, a blood pressure cuff, a pulse oximeter, a thermometer. And I've spent my whole career looking at this stuff, right? I mean, how do we engage this? How do we pay for it? How do we put it inside of the home? What we found is most nanas don't want that in their home. If they do like it, and then on the day of the discharge of the home health episode, you go and take it all away, now they're mad at you. Now your last, interaction with that patient is you just took away all their toys, the things that they like the most. And so we said, how can we solve that? So Engage just sends a text message every day. Nana, how do you feel today compared to yesterday? If you have behavioral health issues, you're depressed, you're sad, you're lonely, you fell, you have a wound, your medications are making you dizzy, all that, you'll tell me. I feel bad. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1, I feel bad. What we're going to do then is pick up the phone and call you. Hey, Nana, what's going on? Do we need to visit? How do we keep you out of the hospital? Nana doesn't want to go to the hospital. We don't want Nana to go to the hospital.
Right.
Well, how do we manage that? So we took that product a little bit further, and then we went to a product called Reach, which we just launched. Love this Reach product. Reach says, I've discharged you from home health or hospice, live discharge from hospice or private duty. And then how do I engage with you and continue to engage with you? Because remember, I'm responsible for you for 30 days post-discharge. Once I don't have a nurse going there anymore, I don't have a chaplain going there, I'm a social worker, I don't have an aide, I don't have the therapist. Anna's by herself. She's lonely, she's sad, she's depressed. How do we know that? So Reach will reach out on daily increments, however often you want, day 1, day 3, day 7, day 12. And just, Nana, how you doing? Just checking in on you. If you need anything, give us a call. So we're just reminding you, just checking in on you. It's totally legal to continue to market and communicate with your ex-patients or ex-nanas that are out there. And so all we're doing is just saying, Nana, how do you feel? Is there anything you need from us? If you do, call us. We'll make sure you come back. My goal, keep you out of the hospital, keep you safe at home, and allow you to communicate with us. People communicate. And the last one, and the one that really touches my heart, is bereavement. Nana bereavement is once a patient passes away on hospice or when they elect a bereavement before they pass away, we have all these family members that are getting postcards. They come in the mail. It's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
They open it up. It says, we're really sorry you're grieving. Your grandma passed away, blah, blah, blah. Here's some information, resources for you. What we found is nobody reads. They read them, but they throw them in the trash. I always tell the story behind Scott Beard's father. Scott Beard, when we started building this product, Scott's my chief strategy officer. He had a whole stack of cards. His dad was on service with Inhabit. And we had a whole stack of these postcards. He's like, Tom, I don't do anything with them. I'm like, why don't we build a tool that texts this information to them, but then also brings them back to a link. And that link allows them to communicate with us. Bring me back to the website. Give me resources. Give me the suicide hotline. Give me a video from Dr. Mayo at St. Croix who, explains what the grieving cycle is. And we can do this on an ongoing basis. What we found, unbelievable marketing. People love it. They send us messages back. Thank you so much for taking care of Grandpa. He was, we were in his arms when he died. Those are amazing messages. Now, how do I share that with the community? How do I give that to every nurse that saw that patient and said, here's what the family member said about the care you provided? And then how do I take that to the referral sources and say, here's what St. Croix Hospice or Agape Care or Avow or whatever hospice it is, here's what they're doing for their patients. Make sure that we get all the rest of their patients. The stories, Heather, are amazing that we get back. These text messages will blow your mind. And we get some crazy ones like, don't ever call me again, I don't like you. Okay, we got to deal with that, right? We did something wrong. How do we fix it? How do we learn from that? But on the positive ones, they're amazing. Like there was one lady that said, the social worker convinced me to lay in bed with my husband as he passed away. I looked outside and the fountain turned red and then blue. I'm like, oh my gosh, like how do you, that's the most amazing thing ever.
Wow.
And they reported that back to us. And then we were able to say, okay, whatever you believe, that was an amazing story. And so we're touching the lives of so many people through these marketing messages or these bereavement messages that are going out. We think that that's kind of the new evolution of patient communication.
Oh,
so that's what we're up to. And we're still building all kinds of dashboards and BI analytics and still implementing all kinds of softwares and home health agencies and all those things. But the tech side of it is an area that we're really spending a lot of time. And Jennifer and I are personally investing in our money into building tech.
There are so many things about that I just absolutely love. Thinking back to the pandemic and you're on the route towards building an app, but then you realize, wait, nobody wants an app. Let's pivot. And that was so creative, so innovative of you to like, okay, people already use this technology of texting. We text, thousands, maybe hundreds of times a day.
Sure.
Use that instead.
and people always challenge me. They're like, old people don't text. I'm like, bull.
Oh, yeah?
Meet my mom. She's 70 years old. She's the most amazing woman ever, but she texts me constantly every day. I'm like, Mom, I'm in a meeting. Mom, whoever taught her how to text didn't teach her right, but she knows every emoji. She knows every slang. I mean, it's amazing, but that's how she communicates.
Yeah.
And so why not meet the patient where they communicate? Mm-hmm. That's been our goal.
That's fantastic. And just the level of care and the touch points are exactly what I want for anybody that I would have on service. And you don't know this, but like you, my mom was on service when I was back at Encompass, and she passed in July of 2020. And it was a hospice nurse who was there for us and was able to give us the notification of, it's time, come now. And
Isn't that awesome?
To be able to have that gift of presence, and just, I only had 3 hours with her at that moment because it was a pandemic. It was, we weren't visiting each other. She'd been in the hospital. Nobody could go visit her in the hospital. And by the time we got there, it was, short. And just be able to have that communication with Nana Connect now, that it would have made all the difference in the world. We would have had more time with her. So Tom, thank you for
awesome.
what you're doing, just from the family perspective of someone
awesome.
who could have used that at the time. So okay, wow, love the technology, love the creativity and innovation that you're doing. So back me up. Tell me how you and Jennifer have built something so special with Maxwell TEC. You're doing something nobody else is doing. You're tip of the spear. So for folks who may not know your full story, how did it all begin?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a long story, but it's a fun one. So I was an EMT paramedic in high school. So I knew I wanted to do that. And so I started EMT school in high school and decided to go into the Navy. So I joined the Navy as a hospital corpsman. I accelerated pretty quick as a hospital corpsman because I was already a paramedic. I was already, licensed paramedic. I was running around on ambulances and all those kind of things. So I accelerated pretty quick through there, got promoted fast, and actually joined what they call the Fleet Marine Force, which is the Navy. I always make the story because all my Marine buddies, the Marines aren't smart enough to have health care, so the Navy has to provide that for them. It's a joke, so nobody pick on me for that. But,
and a ride, doesn't the Navy?
Yeah, they need a ride too, yeah. That's what Marine stands for. My ass rides the Navy equipment. That's what Marine stands for. But anyway, so I joined the Navy. I was in the Navy for 10 years. I loved it, absolutely loved it. I was good at it. It was awesome. But I was practicing medicine on the side as well. And I was doubling my salary every month. I would literally take off my uniform and put on civilian clothes and make double my salary. And I'm like, I can't afford to stay in the Navy. So I got out. In 2000, I got out of the Navy. So I spent 10 years. And then I joined a little company called GE, or it was called Millbrook back then. Millbrook, we had a practice management EMR product based on Dallas, Texas. GE came in and bought that company, and it became GE Centricity Physician Office. I was the vice president of operations and kind of the site manager for the Centricity product. And that's when my CFO's name was Steve Myers. He was April's boss when she was at PricewaterhouseCoopers, April Anthony's boss. And so she was interviewing Steve to be the CFO of Encompass, the job that Bob Thompson took. Steve said no. His wife was going through some health things, and she was a real high exec in a big oil company. And he's like, I just don't want to work that hard and do a kind of a startup CFO job. But he gave her my name. And so she said, hey, I have this technology company called Home Care Home Base. I need a COO for it, or vice president. So April hired me as the vice president of operations in 2005. And I quickly got promoted to chief operating officer and then chief strategy officer. So I spent quite a few years there with April, 10 years, as a matter of fact. I got this 10-year thing going on. I don't know why, but in 2014, the Hearst Corporation bought that company, and in 2016, I retired, and that's when I met Jennifer. And Jennifer and I were at the National Association of Home Care's board nomination selection committee board meeting, and it's me and a whole bunch of people at a board dinner, and we're all sitting around the table. Val Halmendaris, who was the original president of the NOC Association, he passed away. So, but Val was there, and he invited Jennifer to represent the state associations and me to represent technology. And we happened to walk into the room together. So we met at McCormick and Schmidt's in Washington, D.C. We started dating for a little while, and then long distance dating for quite a while. And then when I retired, she retired, and we both decided we were going to do nothing. I was going to play golf every day, and she was going to become a yoga instructor, and it was going to be awesome. About 70 days into that, she's like, "Hey, fatty, get off the couch. You've been drinking beer every day. You're playing golf every day. Like, go find something to do. Like, you're miserable. You're depressed. And so go find something to do." So we decided, and I had all these customers that were calling me saying, "Hey, help us with, come consult with us. Come work with our technology. Home care home base better than anybody. You help build it." So we started Maxwell Healthcare Associates at that time, and that's her and I were both CEOs. Terrible idea. Best advice I could give you is never be a CEO with your wife.
Okay.
Bring that stuff home to work. You could work together. We work fantastic together now, but when we were both CEOs, all the consultants are coming to mommy and daddy, and it was just terrible. And so hard. we learned very quickly that she's way smarter than I am, and she needs to be the CEO, and I'll be the chairman and just kind of do the strategy side of the business and help with sales. And it took us some time to figure that out, but we solved it. And that's the backstory behind how Maxwell Healthcare Associates was created. And then in turn of that, we created Muse. So Brian Mosier came to me, who was a really smart developer, and he said, "Hey, let's create something in hospice." That's when Nana came back up, and we said, "Hey, let's create Muse." So we created Muse through the Maxwell Healthcare umbrella. So although it was a separate company, we used all the tools inside of Maxwell Healthcare's, marketing, accounting, finance, implementation, all that stuff. And so we were able to create Muse for very little money. And then we sold that business to Metalogics, as most people know. And then now Metalogics has sold to Berkshire. So it's been a super successful outcome. I would say 65 to 70% of all hospice patients now are on the product of Muse. And, we stayed focused. We had a mission for Muse, and we solved that mission. It was fun. And so we're going to continue to do that with Maxwell TEC. We're continuing to grow the business, to reinvest in the business. Jennifer and I are very blessed. We've had great outcomes, but we're going to continue to reinvest. And by the way, I'm never retiring again. That sucked. It was terrible. It was terrible.
So I know your wife. I know Jennifer. It's hard for me to believe she said, "Get off the couch, fatty."
I was 120 pounds more than I am today.
Wow.
She really did say that. I was like, "Hey, fatty, get up, get off the couch." Like, what are you doing? You're sitting around just, my only decision I was making every day was, do I hit a 7-iron or an 8-iron? Or do I wear a blue shirt or a black shirt? I was miserable.
So 70 days of retirement, and you're back at it.
It was fun. It was fun. And now we're invested in multiple companies. We're helping advising tons. I'm having the time of my life now.
That's fantastic.
I'm not responsible for anything. I'm not, accountable for anything, but I help advise and guide.
What's been one of the most delightful things about partnering with your wife on these ventures?
It's watching her grow and watching her succeed has been really fun. We've had a couple of moments. We bought a house in Scottsdale, and I always tell this story. We bought a house in Scottsdale, and we've been very blessed, and it's an amazing home, and we both love it there. The weather's perfect, the life's perfect. But, we were moving in, and finally, after all these people left, we had packers and movers and maintenance guys, and Jennifer sat down on the couch and just started crying, and I'm like, "What are you crying for?" And she's like, "We're so blessed to have this house. This is success when you can afford to pay for your house and you have something that you fell in love with and you really are in love with, where we're at and what we're doing." And it's one of those moments like, we had the same moment. We went to Greece and we were getting back on the airplane to fly home, and we just taken the kids to Greece and had an amazing vacation. She just broke down. I'm like, "Why?" And she's like, we're so privileged and blessed to have moments like this where we can go spend time and family, money and all that. And it's not that expensive, but it's to commit the time, effort, and focus to the family. And those are the moments that are really, make me happy. It's those little moments like that. And Jennifer's a crier anyway, so she cried. It was sweet though. They're super sweet. It was a positive, a happy cry.
Yeah. She's so big hearted. I love that about her.
The other thing that we did, and I highly encourage people to do this. So when we first started Maxwell Healthcare Associates, we were having all kinds of communication challenges, right? When you try to communicate when it's your peer, when you're their boss and you say, "Hey, go do this," they go do it, right? But when it's your wife and you say, "Hey, go do that," and she's like, "I don't think you need to be telling me how to do that." Or we're in a board meeting and I step on her, or she steps on me, or she said, you just have all these issues. And so, I'm like, we got to figure this out. And so we actually went to Sedona, Arizona, to a couples communication retreat. And it was amazing. Like, we broke rocks, we did all kinds of stuff. We dug up, histories, but we learned how to communicate better together. And I would say that was probably one of the best moves we ever did, was to go to this. I don't even remember the name of it, but it was like 4 days of nothing but different kind of classes. And you learn how to meditate. You learn how to, talk. We did our enneagrams. We did all those kind of things, and learned who we are as people, because we are different people for sure.
Yeah.
And marriage is hard. When you work with your wife, it's even harder.
Yeah. I can't imagine, but you and Jennifer make it look seamless and easy, but it's encouraging to the rest of us to know it's actually been hard work, but you
also have to really support your spouse. You have to really support her and cheer for her, right? I'm cheering for her. I want her to win more than I want to win. And that's important. And I think she does the same with me. So, but we had to separate, duties as well. We had to really focus on that and spend time doing it. So, happy to talk to anybody about that, but if you think it's easy, you're crazy. It's hard.
Yeah.
We
marriage is hard enough.
It's
hard enough when you're not partners and working together.
Right.
So
right.
So well done, y'all, for doing that. So it sounds like you're Enneagram savvy. Do you want to share your Enneagram number with us? Do you remember?
I think I'm a 9.
A peacekeeper.
Shocker, right? A peacekeeper, yeah. I'm a 9, but I'm also an innovator.
Yeah.
I don't remember what hers was either. I am Enneagram savvy, though. I believe in it. I think it's good. The lady that did it for us, I'll never forget her. It's there was the vortexes were all over her house. So she had this tree out front of her house that was spun like crazy. We were like, that's the weirdest tree I've ever seen. And it was a vortex there. And Jennifer's like, oh, you're going to feel a vortex. I'm like, I don't believe in that stuff. I'm not going to feel that. Man, I did. And then the lady that did our Enneagram was so good. I mean, it was like we were in her home. It was like a 3-hour session, and the vortexes were all around. I mean, you could feel it. So it was a cool experience. We should go back and redo it again someday. Yeah. We're right there by Sedona.
So cool. Well, I'm curious, kind of switching back to our industry, home care. What do you see on the horizon? What's really exciting you right now about this industry and where we're going?
Yeah, so I'm really spending a lot of time. There's 3 areas that I'm spending most of my time. One is, how do we get documentation to be easier and faster? So AI, ambient listening. Jen and I are looking at multiple investments in that. We have an investment vehicle called the Maxwell Advisory Group with Scott and Jay and a few others that invest in companies. And so I'm spending a lot of my time, really focusing on that. Love what some of these companies are doing, but today it takes 4 hours to do a starter care. By the time you do the care and the documentation, it's the number one looked at visit. Every surveyor looks at it, all these things. So we have to get it right. It's how we get paid. We have to get that right. But it takes 4 hours. And so the problem we have in this industry is nobody wants to do that. Like, I don't want to spend 4 hours doing the documentation for an hour-long visit that I did. That's terrible. So how do we make that faster, easier, better, more compliant, quicker? We have all this data now. We have large language models that we're working with. Medalogix has a new product for the referral and admission, where they can actually read the entirety of a discharge plan and a H&P and history and physical on a patient, and then map that to visits to make it easier for a nurse to do that documentation. We can code automatically now. We can look at OASIS questions and do comparisons now. So the large language models have changed the game completely. And so I want to be ahead of that. I want to invest with it. I'm spending a lot of time working on that today. Second thing I like, and I'm spending probably more time than I should. So I invested in a company with Netalytics, which is a office-based opioid treatment company. So we used to call it soccer moms and soccer dads that were addicted to opioids. They had a backache, they had a back injury, something like that, and they got addicted to opioids, and then we're trying to help them get off of it. So much behavioral health stuff around that. So I love that company. It was my first forte as a board member outside of the home health and hospice space. And I just had a blast with these guys, really great guys out of Greer, South Carolina. After I took that, and after I spent all my time in that, now I started looking at, we have all these grandmas and grandpas, nanas and papas that have behavioral health issues in home health and hospice, and we're not addressing those. Whether it's depression, loneliness, sadness, alcoholism, drug addiction, all these things. And so Unfortunately, for a patient to be on home health, they have to be homebound. Well, an alcoholic's not usually homebound, but it's a disease and it's something that we have to address. And so I'm spending a lot of my time right now looking at data, looking at with Metalogics, with Maxwell, how do we address the behavioral health side of this business? How do we make sure that when Nana's wound is no longer a wound and we've healed it, or she's hip replacement fracture, and we've got her up and walking and get up and go, but now she has depression. She's sad. Her husband's passed away, or vice versa. She's lonely. She doesn't have food in her refrigerator. She doesn't have air conditioning or heating in the winter. She doesn't have transportation. She doesn't have running water. I mean, there's so many of these challenges. How do we address those two? And so, can we use data to predict those patients that need additional care or additional services? And we believe we can. So I'm spending a lot of my time on that, just like we did with music. If I can predict death and predict that you're not going to die, why can't I predict you have behavioral health issues? And then how do we address those? And what do we do different? Is it different caregiver? Is it a social worker versus a nurse? Is it more aid visits? Is it more technology? And so how do we address those things? So I'm spending a lot of time on that. And the third one is I'm just, like everybody else, trying to fight off the government, reducing the fees for the and the wage indexes for home health and hospice. They increased hospice by 2.9, but they proposed a 6.8% cut on home health. And so I spend a lot of my time trying to justify what we do and make sure that we're showing them that, hey, we're not fraudulent, that we are creating the right tools. And so that's not necessarily a positive. I think the positive is they're starting to look at it. They're starting to listen. We have a few, the Alliance now, it used to be called the NOC. They spend all the time. They got Dr. Landers in there, who I love. They have Scott in there, who came from Medicis, is the government affairs. And they're starting to listen to these guys and really look at the data and say, we're not all out here just creating fraud. We're out here doing great things. We're creating care for Nana where Nana wants to be cared for. She wants her remote control, her dog, her family, her environment. She wouldn't be in a hospital. Nobody wants to go in a hospital. Right?
No. Those are exciting things. Across the board, I'm on the people side of home care, and you're on, the tech side. And what I hear from, the people that I've coached, trained, interviewed, starting with that documentation, it's taking up a lot of time. And so thank you for working on that. I mean, that's brilliant. And as a psychologist, the behavioral stuff is, so close to my heart. And even when you are homebound and on home care, and maybe you're injured, or of course on hospice, there are so many emotional behavioral health things that are going on and that those patients are experiencing. And so thank you for addressing that. And good grief, yes, the advocacy and everything that you're working on. Wow. Just Tom, wow.
Yeah, it's tough. The advocacy part of it really just, and then, by the way, there's nothing I want to do. There's the worst thing I could possibly do is put a suit and tie on and go to DC and argue with some senator or congressman about, why are you cutting us? But we do it. We do it because we need to. It's part of Jennifer and I were on the one of the boards that was really pushing that hard back in the day. And so we spent a lot of time. We spent 2 or 3 days every quarter going and arguing with senators. And I get their job, right? Their job is to get reelected, period. It's the only job, and make sure they take care of their constituents and their people. And I get that too, but it's so hard. It's so such a broken process when you really look at it. And why are they giving these guys a raise and taking away money here? They have a better lobby system. Why is pharma getting more? And so it's broken, but we have to fix it, and we can't give up. And we need everybody's help to fix it. Everybody needs to talk to their congressmen or senators or write letters or do what you have to do to push for it, because we don't want this benefit is an amazing benefit. And once you've experienced, like I, especially the hospice benefit, once you've gone through that with multiple family members, it is an amazing benefit. And there's angels all over this country taking care of patients, every single day and doing the right thing.
Indeed. Well, if we flipped it, what's coming on the horizon that you're keeping your eye on? Whether that's a challenge and opportunity, a wild card out there. What are you watching?
Yeah, I think consolidation is the one that I'm really watching closely. It's getting harder and harder and harder to be in the home health business and hospice business. And so I think consolidation, although, I love the mom and pop business. I own multiple mom and pop businesses. but being able to recruit, retain, train, educate your staff is getting harder and more expensive. And so I think that you're going to see continued consolidation in this industry, which I don't think is a bad thing. As long as the consolidators are doing the right things for other employees, I think it's easier, faster, better for larger organizations to continue to support and take care of their staff. We're spending a lot of time around the behavioral side of employees. How do we predict when an employee, we've invested in a company called Levo. How do we predict when an employee is unhappy, and how do we solve that? Maybe you just had a life change. Like I always tell people, like, if we watch your behaviors every day and you get up in the morning at 8 o'clock, you sync your tablet, and then 9 o'clock you do your first visit, and then you do 4 visits, and then, 4 o'clock you pick up your kids from school. If that changes, and all of a sudden you're not starting your day till 9 o'clock, something's changed. Now, people say, well, maybe my kid went back to school, or maybe I got divorced, or got married, or whatever. Great. I need to know that. As your supervisor, I want to encourage you. But if you're really just unhappy and you're spending your first hour of your day looking for a job, how do I fix what we broke? How do I make you happier? Is it a pay problem? Is it people don't quit their job over pay? They quit their job over their boss. Yeah. And so how do I make your life better, easier, faster? So spend a lot of time around using AI and technology, whether we survey you through text messaging or we look at your behavioral patterns and those kind of things. Not that we want to use it to critique you or judge you. We want to use it to encourage your supervisor. How do I help you more? And how do I spend more time with you? And how do I coach you around productivity? And remember, most of these people that get promoted, they got promoted because they were really good at their job. Yeah. They didn't get promoted because they were really good as a leader, right? Including me. I got promoted because I was really smart and around healthcare, and I really studied and all that. It wasn't because I was a great leader. It's because I was a guy that really took, I studied ACLS and BLS and all the advanced life support, advanced trauma. I went to go to school. I did all these things to make me a better, medic or a corpsman. Wasn't because I was smarter than everybody else in leadership. I didn't ever take any leadership classes. So that's the same thing we have in home health and hospice, especially when you get into sales reps. If you're the best sales rep, you're going to get promoted to be the boss. Does that make you a great boss? No. Makes
Not
you a great sales rep. That's right. Yeah. So how do we fix that? How do we coach these people? And so I'm really excited about that too. That's an area that nobody's really focused on, and they're starting to really focus on. How do we, and then how do we grow? We have so many people that are retiring out of this industry, that home health and hospice. They've been around for a long time. They're retiring. So how do we grow that next level of leader? And how do we teach them how to be a good leader? And how do we teach them the KPIs and the keys to success around home health and hospice while we maintain, integrity and maintain the culture and all those kind of things. And the industry's changing. Yeah. It's absolutely changing. Yeah.
Gosh, you and I are so aligned on that, because that's the gap I'm trying to fill too, and that, my latest book, The Heart Work, that's the gap, the accidental leader who gets promoted without any kind of leadership training. Like, you're a great individual contributor. Okay. Now you're in charge of 12 people, or now you're in charge of a branch. And, how do we level those folks up and give them the tools and the resources that they don't have? So, I love that. I love the work that you're doing, Tom. I mean, just all the way around. I'm excited.
And I loved your book too, by the way. Your book was awesome. I highly encourage everybody to read it.
Thank you.
There's a lot of nuggets in there that were really good.
I appreciate that. So,
and by the way, I've tried to write multiple books. Like, I can't do it. You're an angel for doing that. It's so hard.
It's a labor of love, because you don't make money writing a book. You spend a lot of time doing it.
Everybody thinks you do, but you really don't.
No, not at all.
But the story's great.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, Tom, this has been a great conversation. And, I have a research assistant, Percy, the penguin. He's knocking at the door. Percy, you've got some questions for Tom? Come on in. Percy, thank you so much. Okay, Tom, you ready? Percy has some questions for you.
Okay.
So Percy's first question comes from a previous guest who wants to know, what does bold leadership look like in the season of life that you're in right now? And how are you choosing courage over comfort?
That's a really great question. And I don't know which guest asked that. Percy, good job. I think bold is a big term for taking risk. And we, when we changed the name of the company, I was like, what are we doing? Like, we're Maxwell Healthcare Associates. By the way, that was the worst name in the world, Maxwell Healthcare Associates. Because if you're Jennifer.Maxwell at maxwellhealthcareassociates.com, I'll tell you a little story. Like 80% of the population can't spell associates. And so they can't get you an email. And then most of the time the email address is too long to fit in the email character. That was a terrible idea. So it became Maxwell, MHA, Maxwell Healthcare Associate. We changed the name, but that took a lot of bold and a lot of courage. It was a lot of things and it took us out of our comfort zone big time. For us to change gears. And this is what I think companies have to do. When you start your business, if you're an entrepreneur and you start your business, more than likely what you start out to do, you're not going to finish with. It's going to change. It's going to evolve. And if you're not willing to evolve, it's not bold leadership. And so we spent a lot of time, one, talking about it, two, planning for it, but then you just have to take the risk. You got to make the change. And people always tell me, wow, you started multiple companies, you're a serial entrepreneur, which I don't like that because serial killer, serial entrepreneur sound good together. But we really are. And it's because we're willing to take the risk. You have to have the finance backing and the willingness to say, you know what, I'm going to out hustle everybody else in this room. And I'm going to work harder, faster, better. And I still play a lot of golf, but I still work harder than most people. And that, when my kids come to me for advice, or people ask me all the time, what made you so successful? I'm not smarter than everybody else. I promise you that. I work harder than everybody else. That's what I will promise you. There's only been a couple of people in my life that I measured my work ethic to. And one of them was April Anthony. I mean, April worked harder than anybody else, period. Like when I was leaving the office, she was calling me to say, hey, come up here and let's talk. We'd be there for 4 more hours. I'm like, April, it's 10:30 on Friday night. What are we doing? She's like, we're going to solve these problems. So outwork everybody else. That's bold. If you're bold and you want to make changes, you're not scared of taking a little bit of risk. That's bold. So that's how I'd answer that question for Percy.
I love it. Risk. So bold leadership is risky, but also hustle. Just outwork everybody. Great. Yeah. Well, Percy's second question is, what question would you like to ask a future guest?
And so this one's going to fall right back with the question I just answered is, how do you coach hustle? How do you teach hustle? And can you? Is it even possible? And it's a tough one. And if you can solve hustle, and I don't care what job you have, if you sort the mail faster than anybody else, if you code faster than anybody else, if you use tools that are available, all these AI tools that are helping code. But I will tell you, I've never once fired someone that out hustled me. I've never once had to let somebody go because they were hustling. It's the ones that don't hustle is what the challenge is. And so how do you teach that? How do you coach that? It's not taught in school. We don't learn that in college. We learn the opposite of in college. Most people do. But how do you teach hustle? And that's a good one. It's a fun one too.
That is good. Tom, I was a volleyball player in high school and in college, and I thought I was good in high school. Then when I got to college, those girls were bigger, faster. They hustled faster, and you find another gear when other people help you elevate your game.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you were a volleyball player.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, Abilene Christian. I played volleyball way long time ago. I won't tell you when, but a long time ago.
You know how many people because of our program, we built this program. It was all April, it wasn't me, but April was really amazing at creating programs and saying, here, Tom, go deal with this. And we had this program where we would get the best of the best from the business school. And every month or every quarter, we would get a stack of resumes. We'd go through those resumes, we'd hire them. There are so many Abilene Christian home health and hospice experts running around this country now. I mean, Scott, Jay, all the people that work for you.
Wildcats.
There are so many. Luke. But it was all April saying, hey, let's give these people a chance. And then we would hire, the smart ones. We would hire this group of people, and then we would grow them and grow them and grow them. And I always tell a story of Jim Griffin and I were sitting in April's office one day, and he's mad. He's like, all these agencies are taking our people. And April's like, great. And he's like, I spent all this time training these people up, and then, AxiCare or Medicine, somebody comes in and hires them from me, pays them more money. And April's like, great. And all we were doing is just putting home care, home-based disciples across the country. Yeah. And they're everywhere now. It was the greatest program ever. And business school loved it. They used to tease that we were called Abilene Christian Incorporated because we had so many people. It was so many people. And I didn't go to HCU, but I loved all those guys and girls. And that's all Mark and April, but they really created a following. And now home care and hospice is full of Abilene Christian graduates. So, good for her.
April brought me to the dance. She recruited me and, trained me in this industry. So I have so much to thank her for.
I can name 60 people right now a lot of them got married at home care home base, and now they're having, kids and lives and families. It was, You didn't have to go to ACU to get a job at Home Care Home Base, but it sure made it a lot easier.
That's too good.
Yeah, it's a great story, though.
Yeah, a lot of us out there, a lot of wildcats out there in this industry. Well, Tom, my friend, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your insights, your humor, your stories with us today. Where can our listeners find you?
MaxwellTech.com, LinkedIn. I'm Tom Maxwell on LinkedIn. I don't really use Instagram or Facebook or X or any of those. I try to stay away from those. Mostly LinkedIn or right on my website. They can also email me, tom@maxwelltech.com. I'm always there. I'm starting a podcast. I'm following your lead, called Last Visit First. So I hired Cole Sorensen. He's the producer for that. And, I know he's been working with your son to figure out the great tools and all that. Riverside should thank you right now because we bought Riverside because you used it. And if Jennifer Maxwell and I can figure it out, we think it's probably pretty easy. So, yeah. I'm super excited about the podcast. It's something I didn't want to do, but the industry's kind of pushing me that direction and saying, go do it. And again, it's not to make money, it's to share the stories. And I want to be able to interview, the great leaders in this industry and find out what their wisdom is. Yeah. I'm super excited about it. I love learning from everybody. Every day I learn something from somebody else. And I'm super excited about doing it.
That's awesome. Well, I will be your first subscriber to your podcast.
Perfect.
So
I'm excited.
I'm totally in on that. I can't wait to hear the stories, and I know it's going to be hugely successful. And it's exciting to see what you and Jen and with Cole are doing on the podcast. That's so fun.
Yeah, it's really cool to watch Cole grow up and do this stuff too. I mean, he's doing all aspects of it. So I'm super excited for him. He's a new college grad that was really wanted this job, and so super exciting.
So cool. Well, Tom, thank you so much for being here. I love our conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon.
Yeah, we're going to see each other thrive. I'm super excited about that too. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, have a blessed day, and thank you for your work.
Thanks, you too. And thank you to our listeners for joining us in this conversation. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with somebody who could use a dose of inspiration and creativity. And please leave us a review. I read every single one. So until next time, keep saying I'm in to creativity, bold thinking, transformational growth, and meaningful conversations. May you be wildly creative in your life and leadership. I'll see you soon.